Now, in continuation of our assessment of the country's journey to nationhood, tonight we look at the judiciary and how it's fared since independence. For many legal practitioners, it's been a mixed bag of highs and lows. Our judiciary correspondent Shola Shoyele has the report.
Judiciary, just like other arms of government, came into existence before the country attained civil rule. In fact, the English-type legal court system Nigeria operates today was imported as an instrument for consolidating and legitimizing colonial rule. As appeals from Nigerian court goes to the Judicial Committee of the Privy Council, which was then the court of last resort. That was basically the setting until Nigeria attained independence in 1960. With a constitution crafted after the Westminster model of written constitution, the Nigerian judiciary attained the status of an independent arm of government. These also led to the establishment of the Supreme Court as the apex court of the land, with Sir Adetokunbo Ademola becoming the first indigenous Chief Justice of Nigeria in 1958.
As a child, I was there around a lot of them. Sir Adetokunbo Ademola. There has been a lot of difference. We've tried to Nigerianize the judiciary, which it shouldn't be.
There is no doubt that the judiciary has contributed in no small way to the socio-economic development of the country. Landmark cases like the pre-2007 legal tussle between former President Olusegun Obasanjo and his vice Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, the Amechi Omehia pre-election dispute, the Eendu-ukeje Anambra State governorship tussle, tenure elongation, onshore-offshore dichotomy, the withholding of local government funds by the federal government, and many more cases are areas in which the courts have intervened and kept the country together, a feat which legal practitioners still continue to applaud. For the lawyers, though, there are still many hurdles and challenges to overcome.
Statistics have shown that funding from the federal government has witnessed a steady decline since 2010. The simple implication is that our courts are increasingly finding it difficult to effectively perform their day-to-day constitutional rules.
I'm ashamed to say that the judges today are not comparable to some of the judges we've seen. And this country is blessed with good people, but the value system has rotted.
We should de-emphasize the financial aspects of what we can get from our profession and be more public-spirited.
The major loss for me is still on infrastructure. You still find courts taking proceedings in longhand. This is a complete waste of time.
This is a fact also echoed by the average Nigerian.
Litigation takes a long time before judgment are reached. With the coming of the new CGM, I could see some level of reform, being undertaken by Aloma Mukta, which gives the ordinary people on the streets some level of hope.
The judiciary still remains the most critical leg of the tripod on which democracy rests, and it's for this reason and more that the process of reform initiated by the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Aloma Mukta, must be seen to a logical conclusion so that the Nigerian judiciary can regain its lost glory. Shola Shoyele for Channels Television News.
Now, to discuss the state of the judiciary 53 years on, I'm now being joined on the news at 10 by a senior advocate of Nigeria and a former first vice president of the Nigeria Bar Association, Mrs. Funke Adekoya. It's lovely to have you on the news at 10 tonight.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here.
Now, let's look at the judiciary. What we often hear is it's the last hope of the common man, of the ordinary man. Looking at the judiciary so far, would you say it's lived up to that particular statement?
The judiciary, it's had its ups and its downs. Presently, I think the judiciary is trying to regain its position, but I don't think it's lived up to its billing as the last hope of the common man. Actually, what we've noted over the last couple of years is that a lot of television stations and a lot of radio stations actually have some sort of a native ombudsman program where you have a group of people who come in and people actually bring their complaints to the television station or to the radio station, and they state their complaints, and then the other party is invited to come and justify himself before the world. And that really seems to have, to an extent, taken the place of people actually going to court to litigate their disputes.
Are you for that or against that?
Well, I'm for it, because anything that resolves disputes in a traditional fashion supports a dispute resolution system. But it throws an emphasis on the fact that the legal system that we have, which we've inherited from the British, has to an extent let us down. And so once the CJN is now doing what needs to be done to put the judiciary back on its pedestal so that it has the confidence of the common man, we still have a long way to go. When we reach there, then those traditional systems will fade out of the television and fade out of the radio.
Speaking about the issues that have, some of the things that have let us down, one of those major things that people have said is corruption.
Yeah.
And when we look at it many years on, they say the value system, or our value systems of the judiciary have gone out of the window, and money seems to be what is talking. Is that your perception as well, that it's all about how much somebody is paid to get a favorable judgment, etc.?
Unfortunately, but that is the perception. It's the perception everywhere. There's a standard joke. Why pay a lawyer when you can pay the judge? So it's affecting the lawyers in their profession. It's affecting everybody. And until we get a system where people actually feel that it doesn't matter whether I'm rich or whether I'm poor. If I go to the court, I will have justice at the same time and at the same quality as someone who can afford to pay the best lawyers or to pay the best advocates, or, as they say, to pay the judge. So I think there is a problem.
Let me just draw your attention to something that the Chief Justice of Nigeria had to say at that swearing-in of the SAN sometime last week. And she had said that funding from the federal government has witnessed a steady decline from 2010. The courts are left with a paltry sum, thus making it difficult for them to perform their constitutional role. Is this a justification for what we see right now happening?
It's not a justification. It's not a justification. But the truth of the matter is that if the judiciary is not properly funded, then it slows down the dispensation system. For instance, judges are still taking notes longhand. If there's no light and the generators aren't working, or there's no diesel, the courts cannot sit because the courtrooms become hot and they become congested. Sometimes if a judge has a lot of cases and the courtroom is not properly furnished, the litigants themselves have nowhere to sit. They even have nowhere to stand. So these are the issues that arise from underfunding the judiciary. And the impact of that is that people then say, there's no point even going to the courts because I won't get justice. It'll take too long. We don't have enough judges. The judges don't have enough books. They don't have enough support staff. And it has that knock-on effect.
Okay, now looking at some of all the other issues that we've talked about, people have issues with the judgments that emanate from the courts, particularly when it's to do with highbrow political cases. Is it a problem of ambiguity of those judgments? People don't understand them. Are the lawyers being mischievous, taking advantage, or is it money again? Because you find that a lot of the time they say status quo ante, everybody interprets status quo in their own way.
Exactly.
So what is wrong with the judgments that are coming out right now from the courts?
I think one of the issues with the judgments coming out comes again from the underfunding of the judiciary. Because if the judges do not have enough books and enough materials to enable them to do the correct amount of research, one of the things we've seen is that there are conflicting judgments coming from different divisions of the Court of Appeal, sometimes even from the Supreme Court, depending on the panel of judges. One panel has taken a position pro-elongation, another panel has taken another decision anti-tenure elongation.
So what do we do?
So it's probably a question. The judiciary has to be properly funded. If the government wants the judiciary to be the last hope of the common man, then we must properly fund the judiciary so that they have enough books, they have enough research materials, they have enough support staff to do the correct amount of research to ensure that their judgments, when they deliver them, are consistent and can be easily understood and can be upheld. We can then argue, the judge said this because this. Now sometimes it leaves the opportunity open for people to say corruption was an issue because we don't understand the judgment. Sometimes they could be right. But I think in many instances, it's just a question of the judge didn't have the knowledge of certain other decisions that could have assisted in taking those decisions.
And it's with that I'm going to thank you for sharing your insight with us here on the News at 10.
Thank you very much. Glad to have been here.
Well, I've been speaking with a senior advocate of Nigeria and a former first vice president of the Nigeria Bar Association, Funke Adekoya. We've been looking at the judiciary at its third 53 years on after independence.